What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We are back here on another Friday with you guys. Obviously, we do these every single Friday, so you guys show up, make sure you get your questions answered, make sure we're covering the topics that are important to you. If you guys have anything at all that you guys want us to cover or talk about, we're happy to do it on these calls. So make sure you guys get here for these. I'm Chase. This is my good friend Jared here.
Sir, how's everyone doing today? Another weekend coming up and ready to get back at it. For me and Chase, it's just another day, but
Exactly. Exactly.
that's all right though. Wouldn't have it
Yeah.
any other way.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we live for, right? That's the whole point too. Like I think that leads right into the topic that we're
It
talking
does.
about today too, because obviously, like moving towards something that you care about, moving in the direction of your goals, moving towards what you actually really want in life is all part of happiness. If you're not moving, you're not happy. If you're just sitting around, you don't have any goals, you don't have anything in your life to strive for, you're not seeing progress, I guarantee you, you're not feeling good. You're incredibly unhappy because that's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
As humans, we are goal striving creatures. The only reason we even get up and do anything is to achieve a certain goal. But what they
Yeah.
don't tell you is that once you achieve that goal, you're not going to want it anymore. You're going to want something else entirely. And so that's the thing, is that's why we're talking about what happiness actually is today. Because Jared talks in the video that we're posting tomorrow, watch out for that, about how happiness is a farce. So what does it take for us to create our own happiness? What is even happiness? Like, how do we even create it? How do we get it? How do we identify it? It's such an abstract thing because obviously feelings are abstract. We
Yeah.
base a lot of things that we do on feelings. It's kind of what drives us, it's what motivates us. But feelings, in essence, emotions, all that stuff, they're all very abstract and temporary. And that's
They
something
are.
that we're going to talk about today, too. You don't want to base a lot of your decisions and your actions based on feelings because when you do that, like I said, you're in a temporary state. And so if you start to make decisions when you're angry, you start to make decisions when you're sad, depressed, you start to make decisions when you're extremely happy and elated,
Yeah.
you're going to run into problems. You're going to run into things that you really don't want in your life. And that's exactly what this call is all about today. That's exactly what we're talking about in this live today, is really how to identify if that's what's happening to you and then how to overcome it too. And realizing that, like I said, happiness is just kind of a farce. What do you have to say about that, Jared?
Yeah. And like you said, there's a video being dropped tomorrow on this idea of happiness. And like anything else, happiness is an emotion. And for Magnetic Men Club, the primary driver that we have in order to be a magnetic man, in order to level yourself up, is I never say never to have emotions, but you want to understand when these emotions come up. And if you are constantly seeking any emotion, but really society from day one, your parents, your the teachers, your friends, social media, if you're a little bit younger, kind of living in that, all pushes happiness. I just want to be happy. If I do this thing, then I'll be happy. We're always chasing this one emotion. This emotion we actually chase more than love itself. It's just this idea of happiness. And in this video, I give some insight on if you're chasing anything, that means it's outside of you, which means it creates a deficit within you. And so you're making a contract with yourself that you're not going to be happy until you achieve X, Y, or Z. So you're always
Right.
making a contract with yourself. And the perspective I want, men and women watching this is happiness is within you. However, it's like any other emotion. It fades. You buy that new car, of course you're happy until the first month payment comes, and then you're like, I don't even like this car anymore. Buy that new dress, buy that cool new shirt, buy that awesome house. It's all temporary. That emotion that people seek more than anything else is happiness, and it's always just temporary. Just an emotion we chase. And so the more you
Right.
chase something, it's the fastest way for you never to get it. Just kind of
Right.
like in dating when I say never chase a woman because women are like cats. Where you go up and try to chase a cat, the cat's going to take off. It's the same way with happiness. So the video that I talk about, and obviously the podcast I talk about, is what does happiness really mean? And if you look at society right now, look at all great marketers. All great marketers are first going to create a dysfunction, which creates unhappiness. So they'll say, oh, well, you're not happy right now. Why? What's wrong? What's the problem? Buy this product and you'll be happy. Drink this drink. Eat this. Join this club. Live this lifestyle. Buy this book.
Truth.
Upload this video. Buy this course. And all of these things. I have the key. You want it. Buy it. Then you'll be happy. Well, then you do those things and you're happy for a moment. But all of those things require work. And so my perspective,
Right.
Your happiness is in your work. It's in your purpose. It's in whatever you decide that you want to spend your time on that's going to fulfill you, that's going to give you joy, that's going to give you what we call purpose. And again, great marketers are really good at creating a dysfunction within all of us. And once we like, I would love to have some hair. Scalp Micropigmentation, one of my companies, people, it's an emotional decision. They want to feel confident. They want to feel sexy again. Maybe they want to feel a certain way. It's an emotion. They want to feel happy. So anytime you see an ad, it's creating a desire within you, and
Absolutely.
you must have that desire. Happiness is, I would say, maybe you have a different perspective, is probably the biggest desire we all have, even above love. Even above love, I think it's this illusion of happiness.
Well, that's the thing too, is people chase happiness. Like even when it comes down to love, like a lot of women and men in relationships, they'll start to feel a little unhappy in the relationship, and they feel like they've got to go and look for another relationship or look for something else to recapture that spark, to recapture that happiness. And it just ends up creating a bunch of misery. So here's the thing, like what we're talking about here is the fact that like you're always chasing happiness. Like you don't want to feel negatively. You really want to feel positively. And happiness is the ultimate positive emotion, right? And so that's the thing that we always think that we need. The problem and the pitfall that most people fall into is the fact that like they place their happiness on the other side of their goals. They place their happiness on the other side of other things. Like I have to achieve this first. I have to do this first. Once I have this thing, then I'll be happy. When in reality, that's not true at all. Once you have that thing, it's going to fade, and then you're immediately going to be chasing something else. You're going to want something else. You're going to set another goal. You're always going to be striving forward, because the fact of the matter is, if you achieved all of your goals that you ever had in life, well, for one thing, you need to raise the bar. But for another thing, once you have all that stuff and you don't want anything else, like life is over. What is the point of life? What is the point of even living? What is the point of even striving forward? Like if you don't have goals and you have nothing to work towards, you have everything you want, life gets pretty freaking dull. Yeah. And so that's the thing too, is it's not that you're unhappy. A lot of the time you're just bored because you don't have enough goals, because you don't have enough to strive for. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But another thing too is, like I said, you kind of place your happiness on the other side of those other things. And so you're always chasing happiness. You'll never achieve it. You'll never actually get it. If your happiness is on the other side of your goals, and if your happiness is on the other side of you achieving certain things, you just basically said to yourself, to the universe, to everything, to God, whatever it is, that you don't want to be happy. That like you're just going to be unhappy for the rest of your life until you achieve these specific things. That's not the way it works.
Right.
You become happy and you stay in a positive state and you don't worry, right? Happiness is our natural state as humans. Happiness is our natural state. We're not born angry. We're not born sad. We're not born depressed. We are born happy. Kids are happy. And the reason being is that they don't have all these worries. They don't have all these things in their life they're constantly worried about. It's letting that stuff seep through the grease trap and say, okay, well, you know what? Your life's not that great. You're not that great. You're not really that good, right? You're not going to achieve this thing. We start to make ourselves really unhappy by thinking that way, when in reality, happiness comes when you're not thinking that way. Right. Happiness comes naturally. It just does. It's the fact that you're placing so many things in front of it that you're not happy. And you're not happy because you're not doing the things that you know you should be doing. You're not doing those things because you're telling yourself that you'll do those things once you have this, once you achieve this. And so you're always eluding happiness because you're not doing the things that make you happy. You're not doing the things that make you happy because you're telling yourself you'll do those things once you achieve something else. I hope that makes sense. But that's reality for a lot of us, right? And so the reality is there's really two major emotions. There's sadness and there's happiness. And there's a spectrum of those emotions. When you're content, you're mildly happy. When you're just not feeling it today, you're not up to it, you're a little sad, right? So you're just on one side of the spectrum or the other, and it kind of affects your vibration. It's like feeding the different wolves, right? I like the analogy. Which wolf succeeds, right? We have two wolves fighting inside of us. Yeah. One wolf is good, one wolf is bad, right? Which one wins? The one you feed, right? And so if you're constantly focused on negative things, you're constantly focused on everything you don't have, you're constantly focused on lack, well, you're feeding the bad wolf. If you're focused on your goals and you're focused on achieving those goals and you fully believe that you're going to achieve those goals, you're feeding the good wolf. Yeah. And really, there's a whole spectrum of that. I hope that makes sense for you. Yeah. But that's really what we're dealing with here. We're really just dealing with those two wolves fighting inside of us. We're either sad because we're thinking about sad things, we're thinking about things that make us sad, or we're happy because we're doing things and thinking things that make us happy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really that simple.
It is. And I think the other idea that happiness, it implies that once you have it, it should never go away. And you should always have it. Oh, I'm happy today. I should always be happy. But, that's impossible. Happiness by its very nature, like we said, it's an emotion. So it is transitory. You feel something for a while, but it always goes away. We as humans have within us what's called henditic adaptation, which basically means we get used to things. And this is why we're adaptable. We could, be in extreme cold weather. We could be in the heat. We could be in a situation where maybe there's hurricanes and stuff. Like, we get used to being in certain climates. We are able to adapt to our surroundings, to our circumstances. And we also adapt to happiness. When we feel that emotion, we adapt to it. We're like, oh, this is cool. And then it fades away. And then it's like a drug. You have your oxytocin level. I'm happy. She said yes. I'm happy. I got this job. And then as you get in there, we get used to it. It's baseline again. We always kind of come back to baseline. So once you just understand that, this is an amazing, I got this new girlfriend. It's going to fade. Not the love, but this happiness, this spike that we get will fade. This isn't everything that we do because of this henditic adaptation that we have. We just get used to shit, all of us. And this explains the reason why when you have that new car, that new house, that new job, when that girl says yes, eventually that happiness fades and you're used to it. I'm used to that car. I'm used to this new house. I'm used to my girlfriend. I'm used to my boyfriend. You're just adapting to your surroundings. And then, like you said, you start kind of feeling, you use the word bored, or you start using content, and your brain starts looking at, oh, I should be happier. And then that's when we make mistakes. Well, why should I be happier? I'm in a good relationship. Am I excited about it? Well, that's kind of not the point. The point is, are you a good fit? Just like in other relationships, love fades. My grandparents, I talk about this all the time. When I talked to my grandfather, probably 5 or 6 years before he passed away, we were at their 54th wedding anniversary. And I asked him, because I was having problems with my wife at the time and I wanted to kill her. I'm like, Jesus. And he's like, listen, love is just like an emotion too. Like, you just have to ride it out until love comes back. He says there was probably years I didn't love her, but that's not a reason to throw away anything. It's the same thing with happiness. This idea of, marriage, this no fault marriage now. I'm just not happy. We're not compatible. We're not this. We're not that. Sure. It's happiness. I'm not happy anymore. Well, Okay, well, there's things that you can do. Why would you just throw all of this away to chase an emotion? That's not logical. It's not logical. But most people,
Yeah.
we're not logical creatures. We always say men should be the stoic one, men are the, the alpha, but most men are not logical either. They're driven by their emotions. This is why I created this channel with you, is you have to keep your emotions out of this and think as a rational male, as a logical person. And yes, I'm happy she said yes. That's amazing. And then this relationship turns, and then all of a sudden it gets stale. Well, what is it that you truly want? Do you want to keep
Right.
chasing this emotion, which means you're driven by your emotions, which means you're a girl. You're driven by your emotions. That's what women do. Men should not be.
That's the thing, though, is it's all kind of emotional alchemy. And yeah, women definitely are driven more by
We are.
emotions than men are. Absolutely, for sure. Especially the positive ones versus the negative ones. Like they just assign more meaning to the emotions than men do. Because men are just like, man, I just need to go to the gym. I just need to go fishing. I just need to
Right.
get out there and do something, right? And just I'll feel better. I know I'll feel better after I do those things. Women, they assign so much meaning to their emotions. Like they feel like just because they're feeling negatively, that it actually means something when it doesn't.
Right.
Like that's just a temporary emotion, man. Like that's gonna fade. As soon as you start thinking about something else, as soon as you start doing something else, as soon as you go to work, you're immediately not going to be feeling that way anymore. I promise you. And so a lot of women will make their decisions based on their emotions because they
Right.
feel like they matter more than they do. And here's the
Right.
thing: emotions are temporary. They just are. Emotions are caused by chemicals. It's all emotional alchemy, right? It's caused by oxytocin, by serotonin, by cortisol, whatever it is, right? Cortisol is going to make you feel anxious, but it's also going to make you feel motivated. It's going to make
Right.
you feel stressed, but it's also going to get shit done, right?
Yeah.
Serotonin obviously is something that's going to make you feel really open, and you're going to be open to new experiences, and you're really going to want to do more things with more people and that kind of stuff. Oxytocin, dude, when you love somebody, when you're kissing somebody, when you're hugging somebody, and that hug just a little prolonged, that oxytocin is going to kick in.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing, like chemicals are caused by different things, but we as humans are driven by chemicals. Without those chemicals, we would feel nothing. And if we felt nothing, we would just die. We wouldn't do anything. There would be no evolution, right?
Right.
And so you have to understand that every emotion is based on these chemicals. These chemicals happen when certain things happen to us. So if I'm scrolling social media all day, right? Dopamine. It's dopamine. Here's the thing. The first day I scroll, I'm going to get that dopamine from 5 or 6, 7 different clips. However, day 2, it's going to take 10. Day 3, it's going to take 20. Day 4, it's going to take 50. And it just keeps going up, right? Because my tolerance has increased for the dopamine. And so in order to get more dopamine, I got to do more to get the dopamine. If in order to get more oxytocin, I got to do more, right? In order to get more serotonin, I got to do more. And so that's where all this stuff comes from. When I drink too much, if I drink a lot 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it's going to take that much more to get me drunk. It's going to take that much more to get me high. It's all just chemicals, man. And so you got to realize that all that stuff fades. It takes more and more and more of it to continue to feel exactly the way you felt before. It's a high. You're getting a high from dopamine. You're getting a high from oxytocin. You're getting a high from cortisol, right? From all that stuff. It's just a high, and the high fades. In order to get back to that level of high again, I got to take more now, or I got to use it in moderation.
Right.
Because if I start to use it in moderation, if I start to pull back, like you're with somebody, you love them, that oxytocin, that serotonin's kicking in. It's awesome. But then it fades, and it takes more and more and more of it to get that high again. So you feel like, oh, I need a new relationship. No, you just need to take a break. Like you just need to go on a vacation for a week. You just need to go fishing for the weekend. You need to put space between you so that when you come back, it doesn't take as much to get that high again. Right. That's what we're dealing with here. And also at the same time, on that spectrum of things, like dealing with emotional alchemy, right? There's that. But on top of that, that's what makes you magnetic or not. That's really what makes you gravitate people towards you or repel them away. Mm-hmm. If you're sad and you're depressed and you're angry all the time, nobody's going to want anything to do with you. Why would they? Why would anybody want to come into your life, give you any opportunities, do anything with or for you, right? You don't want to feel that way because it makes you repel everyone and everything, especially the opportunities that could move you forward. If you're happy and you're on the positive spectrum, things are going to gravitate towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, things are magnetic. You become a magnet for the things that you want when you feel that way. That's why it's so important to control these things and understand this.
Right. It's also important to understand because a lot of people conflate happiness with other things, just being happy or not being happy doesn't mean you're unhappy. And so like the opposite of happiness is misery. So if someone says, I'm just not happy, it means you're miserable. Well, no, right. You could be content. You could be satisfied.
Yeah.
You could be comfortable. You could be fulfilled. There's different subsects within that. And, at the same time of this idea of being happy, all these components within it. So you really, like I said, we don't want to check out of our emotions. We want to identify where we're at within the spectrum, but don't place so much emphasis on where you're not. Because there might be a reason why you're not feeling happy at this moment. Maybe you're feeling content or you're feeling satisfied. You just did a goal, or maybe your business just cracked $1 million or whatever. Right. Of course, it's great to have goals to say, okay, I did this. My next goal is maybe 1.1 next year or what have you. But you're still satisfied. That doesn't mean because you're not happy you didn't make the goal next year, so you're miserable. No. So you always want to check in with what's going on in you. And this is why I even tell with men, it might sound woohoo, but even journaling a little bit and every day, kind of writing up what happened in your day.
Yes.
How did something make you feel? Like, you can journal it. A lot of guys are like, that's gay. Well, you know what? If you don't get it out, if you can't even write it down, to me, that's worse. Like, you can't even tell yourself how you're feeling. Like, you can't,
See, I like to think of it like a business, right?
Yeah.
You need key performance indicators to change anything.
Right.
I could buy into a business, and if that business didn't collect any key performance indicators, they didn't collect any data about how they were doing, I can't fix that business. Right. I can't change anything about that business until I get some kind of a baseline for where that business is at. I have to start collecting numbers. Right. So here's the thing. The same thing's true with you. Like, you're going to completely remain however you're feeling until you understand how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. And you outline that. Why am I feeling? I was feeling this way today. Here's the mood I had today. Here's why I think I was feeling it. Here's what I think I could do about it. And just keep writing that every single day. And then you'll go back to that journal, look at that, like, well, that was, man, like, I've come a long way. You'll start to see the progress, right? And once you see that progress, you know you're moving in the right direction.
Right.
Once you know you're moving in the right direction, you feel happy. If you feel like you're not moving and you're still and you're not moving in the right direction and all you are is moving towards misery, dude, you're just going to be bad. You're going to be mad. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're never going to feel happy because that's just the way you're feeling, right? And so it's understanding that, like, I need data if I'm going to change anything.
Right.
And that's where the journaling comes in. It's not gay or anything like that. It's really just understanding. I'm trying to nail it down. Like, I need to write it. Why do you think people made maps? Why do you think we even had cartographers back in the day to make these maps? Because we needed to know where the hell we were. If you make this for yourself, then you need that data.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like you said, what you can't what you can't measure, you can't manage. So if you can't measure your emotions on it, so when I do some coaching with guys, that's the biggest thing that comes up. I suggest journaling, and it's like, oh, what? I don't have time for that. Like, you don't even have to write it in paper. Everybody has a cell phone. You can go in your notes and just be like, hey, today was a weird day, or, I was feeling a little off, whatever. Because if you are your own brand, as we always say it, you are your own business. You have to be able to make those measurements, those trackables. And if you can't write it down, how can you track it? If you can't track it, you can't manage it, and then you can't change it. So to me, that's very logical. Like, yeah, I should be doing that. And I think if men did that a little bit more, they could check in with themselves. Or again, you can get in with a good coaching program. You can get in with a good group where men will hold you accountable and say, hey, here's our goal. Here's, I didn't really, something happened today. then you can get up with a peer counselor or a peer coach and say, okay, what's going on? Maybe you need some coaching around a belief that you have that's making you unhappy. Because in a ton of videos I did, we always talk about the STEER method and how I use that primarily as a way to figure out what thought you're having about any situation. We won't go into too much, but it's always based on whatever thought you have creates an emotion. And usually that emotion revolves around lack of happiness, lack of fulfillment, any of those categories of what we can define happiness, even love, like, my love life sucks. AKA, I'm not happy with my current dating situation. So
Well, that's the thing too, is like you're in the dark about it right now. It could be any one of those things that's making you feel negatively. Here's the thing that I've discovered about people, especially being in this program and actually helping a lot of guys get through this stuff, is the fact that nobody knows what they want. Like nobody knows what they want. No man that I've ever met has a freaking clue what he wants. No man in this program that's ever come through here knew what he wanted, right? When they had no clue. They knew what they didn't want. They were experts in what they didn't want. They knew exactly where the problem was, but they couldn't tell you exactly how to fix it. They couldn't tell you what direction to go in. They couldn't tell you exactly what they should or shouldn't be doing. But here's the thing. You're in the dark about it right now. That's why. You need to start tracking. You need to understand the patterns. So once you start tracking and you start nailing that stuff down, how am I feeling each and every day? What habits am I doing every day? What am I working towards? What are my goals? And if you don't know any of that stuff, you're lost. I'm sorry, you're lost. You're gonna completely be lost for the foreseeable future. It's never going to end. I promise you. You've probably felt that way for a long time. If you are feeling that way, it's not going away until you start nailing down that data. I'm sorry. You just can't. You don't know what direction to move in. You don't even know where you want to go. So you're going to stay exactly where you're at, feeling exactly what you're feeling, and repeating exactly the same actions and feelings over and over and over and over again for the foreseeable future. I know that sounds grim, but it's really easy to get out of it. All you got to do is find a support network, find a group of men that you can get into who's going to provide that support for you, and start nailing down that data so that you have something to go off of, so that you start to recognize those patterns that make you feel that way, those patterns that you go through, the particular little habits, the things that you're feeling every moment, what you're doing every day, who you're talking to, who you're interacting with, what's in your environment. You'll start to identify the things that don't make you feel good. And you'll start to identify the things that really do make you feel good.
Right.
And then, like I said, the biggest thing is, like, when I ask a guy when they first get into this program what their hobbies are, no clue. No clue. Some of them like cars. Some of them like fishing. Some of them like wrestling. Some of them like, UFCs, baseball, football, whatever it is. Like, they have all these hobbies and stuff that they think they like. They're not sure. That, like, that's the thing. You need to understand exactly what it is that you like doing so you can do more of that. Because if you did more of the things that you liked doing, you would be happier. But right now, you're doing things you don't like doing. You have habits right now that are not serving you. You have habits right now that are causing you to feel the way you are and that are creating the life that you have around you. And you just keep doing that stuff over and over because you're human. We're all human, and it's what humans do. We just do the same thing over and over and over again. Our brains are built to do that, to just the same thing every day. Wake up, same thing.
Right.
Throughout the day, same thing. Go to bed, same thing. Same show, same dinners. We don't want to change any of that stuff because it's easy. And it's really easy for us just to keep doing what we've always done. Right. But in order for our lives to change, in order for our feelings to change, in order for our actions to change, and for us to feel differently about our lives and set new goals and that stuff, it's change. And change sucks, man. Your brain does not want you to change. Your brain does not want you to do anything different at all. That's why you have to do a new habit for at least 21 days before it finally starts to take shape. And that's why you need trackers. You got to check that off every day. I did this today. I did this today. I did this today. I didn't do this today. I did this today instead. And once you have that data and it compiles on a worksheet, which we have in our community here, that's exactly what we've been working on the back end with a big app that tracks all of that stuff for you and then shows you a dashboard of that data and shows you where to focus and where to look, because you need that in order to make the right decisions in your life, in order to move towards happiness and out of the situation that you're in.
Right. Right. Perfect. And you sort of hit on it too, but I want to go back to it because you're talking about growth and moving into positive directions. A very easy way is to withdraw from negative interactions you're having right now. There's negative people in your life. That's making you unhappy or making you unfulfilled. There's negative, maybe your job. It could even just be social media. You go on social media, it just sucks your soul. It just sucks your soul. You see guys on there who, most of them are pretending, but they have more money than you. They have this hot girl that they probably just rented. They're in a jet that they probably don't own, but everybody is seeing this, and that does affect you if you're like, why am I not there yet? I've been doing all of these things. So one of the things that's easy to do is unplug from these negative people, these negative situations. If you can do that and kind of just take a break from these channels,
Truth.
automatically you're going to feel less anxiety. You're going to feel less of this feeling of you're not good enough, because you're seeing a portrait of somebody that really doesn't exist. They're just there to sell you something. So, social media is making it. Yeah. It's simple. Unplug it. TV channels is another one. These drama shows and all this. If it's kind of making you feel a certain way, like, stop watching them. It's very simple. You have the power to turn it off. Family members, friends. I've cut off a lot of my family and my so-called friends over the years, that every time I do a business and maybe it's failed, I get shit from them. And it used to affect me. But now I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm the only one with the balls to do this. And sometimes I did really well, sometimes I didn't. But you have that choice on who you associate with. And so if you have a group of losers, you are going to be a loser. There's never a successful person in a group of losers. It can't happen. So instead of focusing on just growth, focus on just cleaning out your closet on all of this. By default, you'll actually feel better about yourself, because you're not bombarded every day by this bullshit that we get. But we give ourselves. Humans, we all have a very limited emotional bandwidth. We are basically a computer. We can only process so much information at any one time. We have a limited capacity. You have kids. They're a little bit younger. You and Kim are slaying it all day, coding, doing all this. Your kid comes to you. They need you, right? I mean, here's a good example. They need you, but your emotional bandwidth, maybe you had a client who just ripped your ass off because the app didn't work. And you're like, we all have that. We have just a limited capacity to deal with bullshit on a given day. And once we reach that, I kind of call it your emotional piggy bank. If you're always giving, and no one's putting back in, or you're not putting back in positive ideas, positive videos, positive shows, being around positive people, your own emotional piggy bank is going to go on E very quickly. And you're going to feel defeated. You're going to feel,
It's an energy meter. Like, it is, exactly. It's an energy meter. And that energy meter is going down every little thing that you deal with. All the little bullshit that happens to you throughout the day, that energy meter is draining, right? So here's the thing. Like, you touched on a couple things that I think are really important, is understanding the fact, like, when I got into marketing, when I first started, like, I quit my job at the IRS back in 2019. I got into marketing in 2020, really started a marketing agency, all that stuff. The things that I learned throughout that entire process, where I started following a lot of influencers at first. And a lot of these influencers seemed like they were so far ahead of where I was at. And they were exactly where I wanted to be. I'm like, I look at them and be like, yeah, that's what I want. That's where I want to be. But then I got to these guys. I actually started to buy into their programs. I started to get into their coaching, started to learn from them. I went to their masterminds, met with them. And I can tell you right now, none of these guys are happy. Like, they portray it all over Facebook. No. They put it on there just like they have the perfect lives. They're living these perfect fantasy lives where they travel every single day. They have everything they want. They're always at these amazing dinners. They're always buying these amazing things. But they're not happy. That's one thing I've realized. I've met so many millionaires that are miserable. And the reason being is that things don't make you happy. That $100,000 a month doesn't make you happy. The $50 million doesn't make you. I'm sure it helps. It helps if you know what you want out of life. It helps. I'll tell you that.
I'll take it. If you're not happy, I'll take your money. And
But here's the thing: like, I've seen so many miserable millionaires, and I've seen so many people that seem so happy on Facebook, but then they're not in real life. And I'm telling you right now, most people, like I've hardly met anybody who is who they are on social media.
Yeah.
So you got to throw that out the gate. Because like I said, you're draining your energy meter every single day, all throughout the day. And guess what? One of those things that drains that meter is thinking that that person is doing so much better than you and you deserve it. And you've been working so hard for it. You did everything they told you to do and you're still not there. That's draining your meter.
It is.
And it's not true.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You're draining your meter on something that isn't true.
Yep.
So just throw away social media. None of that stuff matters. Here's the
Or at
thing.
least-
Every single person on social media is trying to sell you something, just like
Yeah.
Jared talked about.
Yeah.
It is marketing. As a marketer, the
Yeah.
number one task I have when I first jump into this is have a strategy call with the client. Okay, who are your clients? Who are you targeting? What do they need? What do you offer? What are they suffering from? Once I get all that data nailed down, the first thing I'm looking for is, okay, what are the problems? What are this person's problems?
Yep.
What are all the things that are in front of this person? What are all the walls that are in their way? What are all the things that drive them crazy? All the things that cause pain
Right.
in their lives. We call them pain points.
Yep.
We list out all of the pain points that this person could possibly have. Then we list out where this person would like to be and not where they think they would like to be because they have no idea where they want to be. So
Right.
here's the thing. In order to figure out where they would like to be, what their desire is, you have to look at the pain, right? Look at the pain and say, okay, well, if we fix this, where would they be? If we fix this, where would they be? If we fix this, where would they be? Then we paint that dream for them. I don't ask them what their dream is. I paint that dream for them based on what their pain is because I know they don't want to deal with the pain anymore. So here's the thing. Nobody knows what they want. So if I talk about what they want in the marketing, I'm not going to get them.
Right.
They're not even going to pay attention to me because they don't know I'm talking to them because I'm not getting their attention
Right.
because they don't know what they want. Do you know how I get their attention?
The
I
pain.
focus on what they don't want.
Right.
Focus on the pain. Focus on what they're suffering from. You know why? Because they're suffering from it every single day. And every time my ad comes up and reminds them of it, they're thinking about it again. And then they're thinking about me. That's true marketing. That's what real marketers do. That's what good marketers do.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. That's what you're going to do with your marketing if you ever get into it too. That's exactly what marketing is. They're playing on that. They're telling you have this problem. They're here. I identified this problem. I know you have this problem because it got your attention. And since it got your attention, here's what you need to do about that problem.
Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly
In
how
a nutshell.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And, you know, you're in the marketing, of course, with my companies as well. I'm doing the same thing, pushing pain points. Coaching is the same thing. What divorced men went through a breakup, men that are looking to get back out there, it's all pain. Like the pain is generally the opposite sex. Something happened to me, what have you. So, of course, I'm not marketing their dream outcome. I'm marketing, like you said, their pain right now. Like she just filed for divorce. You know, what do you do? And so look at the way I look at it is everybody has this ebb and flow of emotions that come in. And if you want to stay happier or fulfill happiness more often than not, getting rid of these negative people, negative situations, social media, getting all that out. Kim hit something right before we went live. She used Gigo. And I always use that phrase, garbage in, garbage out. And it's exactly the same topic. Whatever you're feeding your mind, your brain is spitting it back out. So if you say something like, I'm not good with women, or I'm never going to be rich, your brain is going to come up in its Rolodex of everything. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you failed in this business. Yep, you weren't even good in high school, Jared. What do you mean? How are you going to be rich? Yep, it's going to come up with everything. And then that's what's going to cause your confirmation bias. And then you go on social media, and it's only going to reinforce that confirmation bias. This is how you stay unhappy. You want to be happy? Start saying, you know what? Maybe I'm not good with girls right now, but I am willing to work at it. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to change my hairstyle. You know, I'm going to start doing something about it. I'm going to become more social. Now your brain's like, okay, this is the new task. So we're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's still going to fight you, but you're giving it direction. it's not, it's just spitting out what you want. Like, yeah, I suck. Yeah, you're right. Here's why you suck. So that computer term, Gigo, as soon as I heard that in high school, and I'm not really big into computers. I mean, you guys handle all that stuff for me, but that phrase always stuck to me. My first computer teacher is like, yeah, whatever you put in your mind, it's going to spit back out. This computer is stupid. It's only what people programmed into the computer it's able to spit back out. It doesn't know anything. It only what you tell it.
There's so much truth to that too. Like I remember reading a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz back in the day. This guy was he was a surgeon, right? Like he was actually a plastic surgeon. Like he actually would fix like deformities and all that kind of stuff on people. Would fix big ears, fix big noses, whatever. The thing that he noticed throughout all of his years, like in the 30s and 40s when he was doing these procedures, was the fact that like he would fix these things for people and their lives wouldn't change at all.
Yeah.
Like he would fix big ears for somebody and they would go on living their life just like they still had big ears.
Yeah.
He would fix their nose and they would go on living their life just like they still had a terrible nose. They might have the deformity completely solved, completely fixed. And when you look at them, they're beautiful and they look great, but they don't feel that way inside. Right. Inside, their self-image is still telling them, oh, you still have these big ears. You still have that big nose, because our brains don't just change on a dime. Right. They don't. It takes repetitive action and a lot of it in order to get that brain to change. And guess what? It's going to fight you. The second you do something different, here's the thing. Your life will not change unless you do something different. If you do the same things and you think the same things and you feel the same way every single day, I promise you, your life is going to be the same today, next week, next month, next year, 10 years from now. Nothing will change at all. You will keep repeating those patterns. You will keep ending up exactly the same way again and again and again and again, and it will never change until you change what you do, until those habits change, until those thinking patterns change, until your self-image changes. And if none of those things ever change, you will not change and your life will not change. I'm sorry. Nobody's ever going to come save you. Nobody's ever going to come do the work for you. Nobody's ever going to come change your mind. You're never going to get to a certain point and change it. It's never going to change.
It's true.
You simply have to change what you think and what you do every day, and especially what you think about yourself. Because if you're constantly talking down to yourself, that's never going to change. You are the person who should be taking care of yourself, loving yourself more than anybody else does.
Right.
Because if you love yourself, you will not leave yourself in situations that do not serve you.
Right.
And so that's a lot of it too. Like if you don't love yourself enough to pull yourself out of situations that don't serve you, to face hard conversations, to face hard things, to learn new things, to do different things, to think different things and feel different things based on that. If you can't have that kind of courage and you can't have that kind of discipline, I'm sorry. Your life is never going to change. It just isn't. That's what we're here for, to help you get over that, to help you do that, to help you plot that plan out and then follow it long enough for that to become your life. Because here's the thing. I've seen people remain in the same situation for 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years. I've seen people do the same thing over and over and over again, living the same exact life. It works for some people. For most people, it doesn't. For most people, they don't like where they're at, what they're doing, right?
But they don't change.
They don't change.
Here's
the thing. Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change anything.
Right.
And so that's the thing to understand here, is that if you don't change anything, nothing will change. If you want to change, you want your life to change, well, you got to get really specific about what you want to change, because you can't just go changing things. I mean, granted, yes, you do need to try new things, but you need to be really strategic about it.
Right.
What needs to change in your life? You need to sit down and write all that stuff out.
Yeah.
What needs to change? What would you like to be different in your life? And then changing those things. Because once those things change, your life will change. There's a lot of air in the background.
Yeah, the wind's picking up. So.
Oh, gotcha. No problem.
Hopefully it'll die down a little bit.
Anyway, that's the whole point, though, is understanding that if you want things in your life to change, you have to change things. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you do things. You have to change your habits. You have to change the people, the environment, all the things, because it forces your brain to do different things long enough to make a new normal. Otherwise, it's just going to fall right back on what it's always done. It always will, 100% of the time. It will always do what it's always done. It's what it does best. And until you start fighting it and arguing with it and doing something different and trying to remain happy through the whole thing, nothing's going to change. It's going to stay exactly the same.
Right. Right. And another, I guess, topic to bring up is when I do this with coaching and just even with, just people that I'm talking to on a daily basis that always have this negative mindset of things aren't working out. They're feeling down. They want to be happy and maybe you can speak a little bit more about it is I just say, why don't you what's working in your life? And they're like, a big example would be, again, going through this divorce, the attorneys are pinned against each other. I just feel like a failure. And then you say, well, tell me about your kids. Oh, well, Helen, she's a spelling bee champion, and they light right up. Men light right up. They love their kids too. I'm like, does that sound like a failure? No. What are you grateful for? Practicing gratitude. What's working in your life? Yes, not everything has to work in your life, but no, there's something working in everybody's life, no matter how dysfunctional you are. There's something that you can be grateful for. Could just be your health. Could be your wife or your husband or LTR. Could just be grateful that's the relationship that you're in right now. Yes, you might want to be married, but let's just be grateful for what it is right now. And so by practicing gratitude, we'll ground you into the now, into that present moment you're in, and just allow you space to say, yeah, it would be nice to have these things, but I have a roof over my head. I have, listen, I'll give you a perfect example. My girlfriend does, she does like organizing, and she landed some I won't even really do the area, but very wealthy. When I'm talking wealthy, like private jet, they're never around, a shit ton of multi-million-dollar houses. They're never there, but they hire her to tidy up, to organize this, to organize, just they pay her stupid money to basically run their house, make sure the gardener's there. These people do not do anything physical. There's a gardener almost every day. There's somebody that washes their clothes. I'm talking wealth. I'm not talking rich. I'm talking wealth. And I just went out to one of their houses that they're building. I'm trying to wrap my head around. I'm like, why would you build this? Like, to me, it's like excessive. But to them, it's just another house. And
that's funny. Yeah.
I started kind of feeling when she used to tell me this, I was like, God, I would love to like provide this for her and all this. But then I kind of bring back to my own reality, my own gratitude. Like, listen, I have my health. Am I worth 50 to $100 million? No, but I'm actively working in that way to make something of myself. It's practicing gratitude can stop that mindset that you have that you're not enough, that nothing's working in your life. And I just had to do that today when I saw this massive house being built that they'll probably never stay in, maybe a couple times a year. Seriously, that they're traveling all over the place. And I started having that like Jesus. But when I had gratitude, I actually felt like, you know what, these guys must deserve it. They did something right. They're not doing anything illegal. They're just very blessed. God bless them. And then I felt gratitude for my girlfriend because they're paying her very well. Now, she does an awesome job. She cracks the whip, makes sure everything's done, but they're paying her very well. They're trusting her. And I had gratitude for that. Like, they could have hired anybody, but they picked her. So that's one of the biggest things I've been working on lately is gratitude. Just like what's working well in my life. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. I think that is the first step to anything. And so I like that story too, because like that's so true too.
Yeah.
I remember like one thing that you mentioned earlier in this call too is the fact that like a lot of people who are maybe like not as successful, people who like are in the same situation that you come from when you're first starting out in this, they didn't do well with their lives. Like I noticed this with my wife's family majorly. Like a lot of them, like her aunts and her uncles and her mom and stuff too. They would tell people constantly that like, oh, Chase is a dreamer. Like don't trust anything that Chase says. Don't do anything but Chase. Like he's just gonna do his thing or whatever. Yeah. But the thing is they were wishing for me to fail every single time. When I got started in entrepreneurship, all that stuff, they were hoping that I would fail. Mm-hmm. And it isn't because they didn't like me. It isn't because they didn't love me. it's not has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with their inadequacy.
Right.
They feel bad about their lives and what they chose to do. Mm-hmm. So they need me to fail so that they can feel better about themselves. So they can feel better about how their lives have gone, the decisions they've made, the choices they've made, where they ended up, right? They'll feel better about that if I fail too. And if everybody else around them fails, they feel better. This is why they watch cop shows. This is why they watch court shows, all that kind of stuff. They want to watch people in situations worse than their own so that they can feel better about the situation that they're in. Yeah. This is why successful people, rich people, people who are highly successful don't watch or consume any of that crap. Because why would they want to? What would be the point? They're living their lives. They're happy. They're doing their thing. Like, they're busy. They're not sitting around watching court shows all day. They're busy. They're doing their thing. They're not stressed. They're just doing something more meaningful.
Right.
And so that's understanding that. Like, gratitude is the first step to all of this stuff. Yeah. You've got to feel grateful that somebody else could do it. Dude, they proved it could be done. They proved that there is a pathway from where I am to where they're at. There's a pathway. They proved it could be done. Yep. I'm grateful for this person. This is awesome. They proved to me that I'm not thinking big enough. I need to think bigger. Right. And so it's like, gratitude is really tricky when you first get into it, because if you haven't done it a lot, you're probably not very good at it. You probably come into like, I don't know what to be grateful for. I don't have anything to be grateful for. Well, you know, I'm grateful that I have shoes that fit me. I'm grateful that I have a house to live in, that I have a room. Yeah. I'm grateful that I have a phone, you know, that I can actually talk to other people on. I'm grateful that I have music to listen to when I'm not feeling so great. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm grateful that I got a car to get me where I'm going, that I have a bike to get me where I'm going, whatever. I'm grateful that I live in the place that I do. I'm grateful that I have somebody who loves me. Yeah. I'm grateful that I have running water, you know, all kinds of different things. Like, you can sit there and say that all day. Here's the thing. You cannot sit and do that and feel negatively.
You can't. No.
It's impossible.
Yep.
But you can sit and talk about shit. You can sit and talk about, oh, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of this job. I shouldn't be in this situation. I should be better off. Screw that person who's in that situation that I should be in. You're not going to feel good talking like that. And if you don't feel good when you're talking like that, you're not magnetic. You're repelling everything from you. So here's the thing. The gratitude flips. It makes you happy now. It puts you into a point where you feel content, and then you can start to build up that motivation and actually get more done and do more things and move in the direction that you want to move in. That is the secret to success. Like, that is absolutely the secret. If you can remain in a positive state, if you can stay happy and think good things, you're going to be more motivated. You're going to get more done. You're going to try and do more in your life. You're going to have more direction, and you're going to move in that direction. If you do the opposite and you start thinking all the shit and you start thinking about all the people and you start thinking all those negative thoughts, you're moving in the opposite direction. You're going to stay exactly where you're at, or you're going to be worse.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. The video that I'm dropping, because obviously we're not going to have time to go through I think it was 6 or 8 different ideas around happiness and how you can sustain happiness, or at least when happiness comes, you have more of an affinity for appreciating at that moment you're receiving happiness. Because that's another thing, when you chase it and you have it for a minute, you want more. But if you can just allow it, like, this is great. I had a great Tuesday. You know, maybe you had a really good sale today and you really just enjoy it. If you can practice that gratitude, if you can practice some of the other things in the video, I do invite you guys to watch that, because there's a couple other things that we probably won't have time for, but it's just that self-awareness that, I am happy now. I know it's going to fade. That's fine, but I'm in a position to receive it more because I'm aware of it. I'm aware that I'm staying away from negative people, negative social media. I'm staying away from that. I'm feeding my mind with positive energy, getting around a coaching program, or at least around positive men who hopefully are doing better than you, because you don't want them to be doing less than you, because then you're looking up to them like, okay, if this guy Jim can do it, he's kind of dumb. I can do it. But by practicing this and then having that gratitude is like, I'm not there yet, but you know what? I'm in a great position for it. I have, maybe you're married. I have an amazing wife on my team. My kids love me. Everyone's happy. Those moments when happiness comes into your life, it feels so much better than just chasing it for the high of happiness.
Well, that's the thing. You can't be constantly happy. If you were constantly happy, you wouldn't even know that you were happy.
Right.
So that's the thing, is like you have to feel the other emotions. You have to be on the other side of the spectrum sometimes too. And that's okay. When you're on the other side of the spectrum, when you're negative and you're in a negative spot, by the time you get back to the positive side, it's going to feel so much better.
Yeah.
And like I said, they contrast each other. So once you go from being in a negative state to a positive state, it's going to feel that much better. But if you're always in the positive state, it won't. If you're always in the negative state, it's bad, right? So you can't always be on one side or the other.
Yeah.
It's feedback. We have feedback. Right. We have positive feedback. We have negative feedback. Mm-hmm. We know that what we just did or what we just thought is good because we feel good. Right. We know that what we just did or what we just thought was bad because we feel bad, right? That's what creates it for us. It's that feedback that moves us forward. That's why you need to track this stuff and journal it too. So here's the thing, is like celebrating little wins too. Like you can set a huge goal of $100,000 a month, but you need to be happy when you hit 1,000. You need to be happy when you hit 10,000. You need to be celebrating when you hit 15,000. Otherwise you'll never hit 100. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, is you got to celebrate the little milestones along the way to the big goal too. And you got to feel just as happy every single time. Because guess what? You can borrow happiness from that future state where you're going to be at $100,000 a month. You can take that and say, okay, I know I'm going to that. I can see the progress. I'm at 15K right now. I'm so happy. Look at that progress. I'm almost there. And you can be happy now at 15. You don't have to wait till 100. Right. So that's one thing too. It's like celebrating the little wins along the way. Mm-hmm. But at the same time too, it's all about control, right? We're just trying to control our emotions. Right. And so if you can control your emotions, you can control your actions. Mm-hmm. And so it's being non-reactive. That is another key to life too. You control your reaction. You don't react to being angry. You don't react to being sad. You don't sit there and react and go tell everybody about all this stuff and look for validation from every single person out there about how you're feeling to make you feel better about it. No. Control your emotions. Control your actions. Otherwise, they will control you. Yeah. If you're not trying to control them, they are absolutely controlling you. Your anger is controlling. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you're immediately angry. Mm-hmm. You have to stay a little bit after work. You're angry immediately. Yeah. You're not feeling it, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. There's just certain things out there that we can't control. I can't control the fact that somebody cuts me off in traffic. I can't control the fact that I have to stay after work. I can't control the fact that, Biden is president. I don't know, man. Obviously, it's not making me feel great. I have to deal with it. It is what it is, right? So don't tie yourself to those things. Tie yourself to what you're getting done and what you want and your goals and feeling good about what you're doing. Yeah. Nothing else. So just block everything else out. Block out what the government is doing. Block out what's happening at work. Block out what's happening on social media. Don't even look at it anymore, right? Yeah. Just move towards your goals and be happy about it along the way, and everything's going to work out for you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That non-reactive, that I call it detachment, just be outcome detached. If it works, great. If it doesn't, hey, that's great. Kind of the same thing, but what you hit it on that emotional, just have an emotional center about you and try to journal is the biggest one. We talked about it. If you can't track what's going on, you can't measure it, then you can't fix it. And that's our takeaway biggest one today is you got to start writing it down. You got to start. And we will have an app out soon that we can definitely, if you get coaching with me, this will be an app that we're actually going to use, and you're actually going to be in real time. The homework that we assign you and the tasks we do with data, with numbers, it's going to help you say, oh, okay, so this is something Chase and Kim have been working on for a long time, and it's coming out soon. It's definitely going to be a powerful tool for all coaches that we can launch out, but specifically for our program, we're going to be using it. So look out for that. Should be out really soon. And if you get coaching with me, we do have some new offers coming out because we're going to be using this app. I'm actually drastically cutting down the amount or your investment for one-on-one coaching for me because we're going to be using this app in tandem. And there's some bugs that we might have to work through. But if that's something you're interested in, go to our Magnetic Men website, fill out the contact information, and we'll get a free consultation, a free one-on-one discovery call. But We will invite you to join into this new app. You will get the same level of coaching with me at a reduced price by working with us into this app. So this is coming out very soon.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm excited for this stuff. This, like I said, by the end of this month, it all should be ready to go out. And so, like I said, get in now. If you guys buy into coaching now, you're automatically going to get access to all this new stuff. We're going to make sure that you guys have all this stuff tracked, that you have a dashboard to look at, and that you have a group of men inside of this group that you can actually go talk to who have been through the same stuff that you're going through, who have solved it in different ways. That's exactly what all this stuff is for. We're all about community here. Community is the biggest part of this. That's the biggest cornerstone for us right now. We want to make sure that you are in a community of men who have been through the same stuff that you have been through, that are going through the same stuff that you're going through. So you have that support and you have those actionable steps that you can take along the way too. And that we're there to make sure that we hold you accountable to those steps and that you actually achieve the life that you want to live. Because like I said, I mean, I've watched people spend 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in the same situation. We want to collapse that to less than 6 months for you. And so that's what you're going to get working with us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one today. I appreciate your time, Chase, as always. I appreciate doing these calls with you and guys that are watching this either live or, that will watch it later. Thank you so much for watching it, and get some more information. Go to their website. It's down below, and let's get to work.
Let's do it. Thanks, guys.
Have a
Great
good one.
Friday. We'll see you guys next week.